Richard. Welcome to another coffee talk.
Good morning, Randy. Always happy to be here, man. How you doing?
Doing good. I believe today we were going to take a dive into just show planning, design planning, and maybe some bullet points as we go into the winter months, and directors are out there trying to feverishly figure out what that next fall marching season is going to look at. So let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah, so we've talked about this before, and we always, I think, try to bring up a couple of new things every time we talk about it. But one of my things today is just to talk about patience a little bit. We're always under the gun to make sure we have time for our arrangers to write, for our drill designers to write, for our guard people to write. We don't want to put them under a lot of pressure. So a lot of times we'll make a decision in a design meeting and just go with it, instead of making a decision saying, okay, let's let this stew for a week. Let's really think this through. And one of the things I've found over the years, and I found it this last month too, with 2 or 3 different clients of mine, is that we came up with some ideas we felt were pretty good. And after a week, we were starting to question a little bit. And all of a sudden we came up with a better idea based on the original idea. Didn't really change it, but came up with a new outlook on that idea. So I guess my thing today is just, as you guys are putting together programs, and so many of you out there are so great at doing this, but don't be in too much of a hurry, because if you can let things, I guess, percolate a little bit or let them simmer on the stove a little bit, you may be surprised at how you come up with the next coolest thing based on that original idea. So just patience, even though I know it's already mid-February and some of us are thinking, I know some people are telling me, Richard, if we don't get our opener pretty soon, we're going to be behind, and I get it. I totally get it. But at the same time, want to make sure that we're not rushing decisions and making poor decisions. And Randy, I know you go through those same things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is still sticking with me. What, Jeremy Spicer said in the last month's webinar was, the show tends to reveal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what he means by that is that the choices you make, maybe in a staff meeting, if you give them time to kind of simmer a bit and come back to them, sometimes things will change. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And having time to allow things to germinate. And, everybody unfortunately has the same amount of time. Some have better situations when it comes to, they have in-house people that are writing for them maybe, so their timelines are a little bit more favorable potentially. But it really, really does come down to making sure that the time that you are vesting is intelligent, well thought out, and gives people time to actually, give some thought to how they approach it. Because just getting it done and checking it off the list, if you're actually gonna do that, I highly recommend you just go out and buy a box show.
Yeah,
because,
good point.
Because I mean, you're just, if it's just a matter, I got to have it, and I get it. I totally get it. I remember what it was like to teach in a rural setting where there wasn't a lot of help, and you got to get something done, and unless you're well connected with an arranger who's a friend or something that's going to help you out and is not going to rush you to get stuff to them, I get it. But I think, and I honestly think that that's one of the reasons that we've seen an uptick in box shows, because people just can't afford to take the time anymore to because there's so many people using, there's so many marching bands out there. There's more marching bands out there than ever that are competing, and it's hard to get quality people and be able to meet timelines and things. And it's a tough thing. In fact, I think we might be using that as a topic for one of our webinars, monthly webinars, is how to kind of unbox the box show and talk a little bit about that. I know you and I have talked about that before, because people buy what I would call, or you would call, canned shows, and they don't think they can do anything with them. So we'll take that at another time. But I really do think it is important that you, as you said, just give yourself the opportunity to not rush through your choices, because if your choices are going to go all the way into September when stuff goes on the field, they need to be the right choices, So taking some time to let those things permeate and germinate in your mind and in your staff's mind to make sure you're making the right choices and maybe bouncing those ideas off others that you
Absolutely.
trust, there's no problem with doing that. I'm sure plenty of people would be happy to give you their input as to how, they react to what you have planned. So, and then I'm going to say this again. I know it's said all the time. Make sure you're thinking about your kids and
Right.
whether or not they are going to feel good about performing whatever that program is, because they're the ones that have to, they're the ones in the end that have to sell it and have to perform it and work on it for 3 or 4 months. So please consider them when you're doing that.
And you can always start simple and add as you need to. But what's really tough for kids, as we all know, is to start really difficult, realize they can't play it and take it away. That really has a negative effect on kids. And so, and I learned this from my good friend, Mike McIntosh, who we both know. He's like, start simple. You can always add, and he's thinking about percussion stuff and the percussion stuff that he'll write to win books. And he says, I always start pretty thin because you never know what's going to happen. And he goes, and it's really easy to say, okay, quads, let's add this, snares, let's add this, bass drums, let's add this, marimbas, let's add this. He goes, it's really cool and the kids love it when you do that. But try not to get caught the other way, because that really does bum kids out.
Yeah. And I actually heard a story one time that Troy Hall, who's a DCI friend of ours, was talking about his time in the Blue Devils, and that they were upset that they were getting stuff taken away from them, and new person comes in and that new person says, this is what we're playing, and they're like, this is too easy. It's like, just wait. And sure enough, over the course of the summer, he was giving them things more challenging as they became better performers and as they began to enhance the program. So that's a great way to frame that, Richard. That's excellent. So we certainly appreciate everybody being here with us on Coffee Talk. We look forward to talking to you again next Tuesday morning, and we hope you have a great week out there.
Yeah, if there's ever anything you guys want us to talk about too, let Randy and I know. And, because we certainly want to make sure that we're relating to all of you out there and your needs. So let us know, communicate with us, drop us a line, and we'll make sure and try to cover the things that you want us to cover in Coffee Talk. Take care, Randy. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Take care.
Yep. Bye, everyone.